What happens inside Taurus when something or someone true touches the surface of your life? Not just any contact, not just another fleeting encounter. I'm talking about an arrival that will make you look back and realize that everything you've experienced up to this point was, in a way, silent preparation for this very moment. And if you've stopped watching this video now, maybe you already feel that tremor. That kind of premonition that lives in the chest area, between the heart and the throat, that has no name but that you recognize. Like the smell of rain before the rain, like the stillness before the most beautiful storm you've ever seen. Stay with me, because what you're about to hear isn't a prediction, it's a revelation. Venus has just spoken, and she spoke specifically to you, Taurus. Not for the collective, not for all the signs aligned in the same generic sky. For you, for that Taurus who learned to distrust promises, who built walls not out of malice, but because every time they truly opened the doors, something or someone left without warning. That Taurus who smiles at the world, but at night sits in the silence of their own thoughts and wonders, when will it be my turn? The answer has arrived. But before I tell you what the stars are moving right now, I need you to understand something about your nature, about what makes Taurus unique in this whole conversation about love, presence, and divine gifts. Taurus doesn't love lightly. It never has. When you give yourself, you don't give half. You give the whole soil, the whole root, the whole shade. You love with the same depth with which the earth sustains a centuries-old tree, silent, unwavering, real. The problem is that the world often doesn't know what to do with love like that. The world prefers what's easy to take and easy to let go. The world wasn't made to receive the kind of love that Taurus carries. But someone did go. I need you to close your eyes for a second, not now after the video, and try to remember a version of yourself that existed before the disappointments, a version that still believed that love could be simple, that being loved in return wasn't asking too much, that a hug could last as long as it needed to, without the person leaving in the middle. Do you remember this version? She hasn't disappeared. She's buried beneath layers of self-preservation that you've been building, brick by brick, each time the world taught you that being vulnerable hurts. But she's there, and the stars during this period are moving precisely to unearth that version, not to hurt you, to set you free. Because the divine gift that is coming to you cannot land on hardened ground. He needs a Taurus who remembered, even if timidly, that he deserves to receive. The question isn't who's coming. The question is whether you'll recognize them. Here is the most delicate point of this conversation, and I need you to listen carefully because it's easy to gloss over it. Taurus has an extraordinary ability to ignore what is good for themselves. Not out of stupidity, on the contrary, because of an emotional intelligence so finely tuned that it sometimes turns against the person themselves. You already know you're going to get attached. You already know that when you love, you're going to love for real. And then, unconsciously, almost without realizing it, you start creating reasons not to get close. It's too soon. This person has too many flaws. I'm not ready. But the universe doesn't send gifts in perfect packaging. Divine gifts arrive seemingly by coincidence. They arrive on an ordinary afternoon, in a conversation that shouldn't have happened, at a meeting you almost didn't attend. They arrive with imperfections, with complicated stories, with an energy you can't explain but recognize in the marrow of your bones. And Taurus, who knows the language of real things so well, will feel it. Will feel it in a way that will frighten, not because it's wrong, because it's too right. Now I need to pause here for a second, because what I'm describing might be resonating with you in a very specific way. Maybe you've felt it recently. Maybe there's someone on the horizon of your life who makes your heart race in a way you were trying to ignore. Maybe it's a new person, or someone who's returned, or someone who's always been close but suddenly reappears with a different light. Whatever the case may be, I want to ask you a real question. from the heart. Have you ever loved someone with everything you had, with the totality of who you are, and still felt it wasn't enough? That the problem was you, that you loved too much, demanded too much, needed too much? If the answer is yes, I want you to write it in the comments below. Not for me, for the other person, that Taurus watching now who needs to know they're not alone in this pain. Right, I truly loved and yet it wasn't enough. But I didn't give up on myself. Every comment you leave here is a beacon lit in the darkness for another Taurus navigating the same storm. You don't know who you'll reach with that phrase, but the universe does. Venus is in its domicile in Taurus this cycle, and that's no small thing. When Venus walks through its own territory, it is not visiting, it is governing. She is active, intense, demanding of herself and everything around her. And she is looking directly at her relationships, not just romantic ones, but any relationship where true love can exist. Friendships that have depth of love, family ties that need healing, and yes, that romantic connection you tried to bury because it seemed too dangerous to cultivate. But what I'm most interested in discussing with you now isn't the technical positioning of the planets. It's what it means in your daily life, in your everyday life of flesh and blood. It means you're in a period where the universe is making you magnetic, not in a noisy way, not in a showy way, in a profound way. The people around you are feeling an attraction they can't name. Something in you is emanating presence. Something in you is calling, even when you're not trying to call. And in the midst of all this magnetic movement, a specific person is being drawn in its direction, not by accident, by alignment. Let me tell you how this arrival usually happens for Taurus. It's not a flash, it's not thunder, it's not the kind of thing you'd watch in slow motion with an epic soundtrack playing in the background. For Taurus, true love begins as a whisper, a message at just the right time, a shared silence that didn't need filling, a conversation that started about anything and ended about everything. A presence that somehow makes you breathe differently, deeper, slower, more fully. You'll notice this person not for what they do, that's extraordinary, but for the simple things they do. They'll ask you how you are and expect a genuine answer. They'll remember something you mentioned in passing weeks ago. They'll create a space around you where you don't need to explain or justify yourself. For a person who has spent their entire life being intensely observed and rarely truly vista, this is going to sound absurd, almost suspicious. Why is this person being so genuine? What do they want from me? And here comes the classic Taurus trap, turning suspicion into distance, using intelligence as a shield before the heart can decide. I ask you, and the stars ask you, that this time you pause before building that wall, because something is happening on a level that goes beyond your control. There is an astrological current active right now, and it involves Uranus, the planet of ruptures, of turning points, of the unexpected, preparing to enter Gemini in July 2026. This transition is rare. It's historic. The last time this happened was more than 8 decades ago, and it will shake structures that seemed permanent in all our lives. But before the shaking begins, there is a warning. For Taurus, which has been ruled by Uranus during the last few years while it transited through its sign, this transition means something very specific. The shifts that Uranus initiated within you are now blossoming outside of you. Everything that has changed internally, all those silent revolutions you've gone through while the world outside seemed to remain the same, they are about to manifest in concrete reality. In your choices, in your relationships, in the kind of presence you allow into your life, and the person who is arriving is part of this flourishing. She is not a distraction in your path. It's evidence that you've arrived where you needed to be. Now, I need to be honest with you about something. Not every Taurus is ready to receive what's coming, not because they don't deserve it. Every Taurus deserves it. but because there's internal work that needs to happen for what's arriving to become permanent. And this job is called learning to trust again without demanding guarantees. This is the challenge for Taurus with everything that is good. You need solidity, you need proof, you need a foundation. And that's beautiful. It's what makes Taurus love so lasting and so real. But the problem is when this need for a foundation turns into a demand for certainty before taking the first step. Love doesn't work that way. The divine gift doesn't arrive with a signed contract. It arrives with an invitation. An invitation for you to take a step towards something that doesn't yet have a name, but that smells of reality. And the question the stars are putting before you now is simple. Will you accept the invitation? Think about the last time you gave up on something that could have been extraordinary because it seemed too risky. I'm not talking about recklessness. I'm not talking about ignoring clear signs of danger. I'm talking about that specific moment when everything seemed right, but fear got the better of you. That moment when you chose control over connection. How many times have you done this? How many times have you protected your heart and then wondered alone what would have happened if you had stayed? It's not your fault. It's protection. It's survival. And it was necessary. That was the bull that existed then, with the wounds that existed then. But now it's different. You are different. You've been through things that taught you exactly what you no longer want to tolerate, and that clarity, that hard, precious clarity that pain buys, has put you in a position you've never been in before. You know what you want. And when you know what you want, the universe can finally send you the person who matches it. The divine gift acknowledges a Taurus that is already known. This person who is coming into your life won't complete you. That's the wrong narrative, and the universe doesn't work with that kind of thing. They won't fill what's missing. They'll find what's already whole. She will look at you and see exactly what you have built, not the ruins of your disappointments, but the architecture of your strength. She will see the patience you have developed over relationships that didn't work. She will feel the depth of someone who has learned, through pain, what true love is and what is a well-packaged illusion. And she'll want to stay, not for the smaller version of you, not for the version that shrinks to fit in, not for the version that pretends it doesn't need you, for the whole version. This scares Taurus, because Taurus isn't used to being seen that way. They're used to being strong, stable, the one who provides. They're not used to being the one who is supported. They're not used to the vulnerability of being loved without asking for anything in return. But that's exactly what's coming. And your only job now is not to sabotage it before you even begin. I'll give you the signs, the real signs. These aren't mystical signs impossible to identify. They are everyday signs that Taurus needs to learn to read without automatically minimizing them. The first sign, you'll feel comfortable in silence with this person. Not the uncomfortable silence of someone who has nothing to say. The silence of someone who doesn't need to fill the space to prove they're present. The second sign, you'll want to tell people things you normally keep to yourself. You won't be able to explain why, but you'll feel the urge to open drawers you usually keep locked. This is a confidence instinct, and Taurus, which has one of the sharpest instincts in the zodiac, doesn't make mistakes in recognizing this when its guard is down. The third sign, routine will take on a different glow. Taurus lives in the beauty of everyday life, the morning cup of coffee, the afternoon light streaming through the window, the feeling of a day well lived. When this person enters your life, these simple things will seem bigger, not because they will change the world, because they will change how you see the world while you are with them. The fourth sign, and this is the most important, you will have the urge to build something. Not just feel, not just live in the moment, to build, to plan, to imagine. And Taurus, who loves building so much, will recognize this as the truest language that the heart has found what it was looking for. But here's the point I can't let pass without speaking directly to you. There's a part of Taurus that will resist nonetheless. Even with all the signs, even with all the clarity, even with the stars aligned and the heart racing, there will be an inner voice that will say, "What if I get hurt again?" That voice is not your enemy, it's your guardian. It's the part of you that loved so much that it got lost inside someone else. It's the part that swore it would never again. But you need to have an honest conversation with her. Tell her that you heard, that you understand, that you won't be reckless, that you won't erase yourself to fit anyone else's mold, that you learned the hard way, genuinely, the differences between love that builds up and love that consumes. And then tell her that you're going to move on anyway, not because the risk disappeared, because you grew enough to walk alongside the risk without being dominated by it. This is what Venus at home is asking of you right now. There is no recklessness, not naivete. Courage, the specific courage of Taurus, not the courage to face a battle, but the courage to lower the shield when someone real approaches. The courage to say, first to oneself and then to the world, I deserve this. I deserve to be loved like this. Because the divine gift is not just a person, it's an opportunity for you to experience, perhaps for the first time in your life, what happens when you are completely present within a connection. Not monitoring, not managing the distance, not controlling how much you expose yourself. Present, whole, real. And let me tell you what happens when Taurus, that being of solid ground with deep roots and unwavering love, allows itself to be fully present in a relationship. He transforms everything around him, not in a dramatic way, in a quiet and permanent way. Like water shaping stone, like a tree covering the ground with pleasant shade. The presence of a Taurus who allows themselves to truly love is one of the most extraordinary things in this zodiac sign, and the person who is about to come into your life is about to discover this. She won't know what hit her. We've arrived at the destination, or rather the starting point on the path to what's to come. The universe is presenting you with a rare opportunity in this cycle. Not the chance to be happy. Happiness is fleeting, and you already know that. The chance to be real, to be in a relationship where you don't have to pretend you need less than you do, where you don't have to diminish the intensity of your love so as not to scare anyone away, where you can be the whole Taurus, with your demands and your tenderness, with your firmness and your gentleness, with your need for security and your ability to offer a security that few in the zodiac can provide. This connection exists. This person exists, and she's moving toward you right now. She might already be in your circle and you haven't noticed yet. She might appear in the coming days or weeks in a context you didn't expect. You might have known her for a long time, and something is reconfiguring itself between you in a way that's confusing your senses. Regardless of how it happens, when it happens, you'll know. You always knew. You just needed permission to believe it. And this permission, I give it to you now. Permission to believe that you deserve the love you've always given. Permission to receive without suspecting everything. Permission to be truly seen without shrinking. Permission to build something new on a foundation that is not fear, but the awareness of who you have become after everything you have been through. The divine gift is arriving. You don't need to go looking for it. You don't need to transform yourself. You just need to be whole when it arrives. And you already are. If this video touched something inside you, if you felt I was speaking directly to your story, your pain, or your hope, I want you to do one thing now. In the comments, write, I am ready to receive what is rightfully mine. Not because it's a pretty phrase, because it's an act of declaration to the universe and to yourself that you are no longer waiting in the dark. You are standing, eyes open and ready. Every Taurus who comments here is creating a chain reaction, and chain reactions are real. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Turn on notifications, because the next videos about this Taurus cycle are going to be even more intense, and share this video with that Taurus in your life who needs to hear this today. The universe wouldn't send you here for nothing. Until our next meeting.